Hi, my name is Brian and welcome to the Social Update, where I give you all the news about everything that's happening in social media to help guide your brand online. Instagram also just added a couple of new safety features aimed at young users on the platform. So first of all, if you're a teenager, when you sign up, they'll be asking you for your age, right? Obviously, people can lie. But if you are under the age of 18, your account will be private by default, right? And now, just to note that, again, they stole this idea from TikTok. TikTok did this in January, right? But to note, Instagram also had some other features that they implemented a couple months ago where you can't, as an adult, you can't message younger users on the platform, right? You'll be able to message them, but it will say, hey, look, this person's a young person. And when the person receives the message, you won't know if they've seen it, etc., etc. And they'll tell you like, hey, this is an adult. Do you know this person for them to be messaging you, type of thing? So you might be messaging your niece on the platform, but obviously Instagram might not know that it's your niece. So it will be asking you, hey, do you know this person? And it will ask the young person, do you know them, right? But that is something they implemented a couple months ago. Now they're topping up those features. So if you are a young user, your account will be automatically on private. Yes, you can still set it to public, but they said during the testing stage, they realized that a lot of young users had their profiles on private for a long time before they even put it on public, etc., etc., right? Why? Because they can control who follows them and who sees them, right? Instead of, having some weird dude follow you and having to block him and all that. You don't even have to do that, because if someone tries to follow you, you just don't have to accept, right? Obviously, these young users are, for the most part, obviously trying to maybe keep their life secret from their parents or their brothers, and their family members. They don't want people prying into their stuff. And maybe they just don't want weird people following them and finding them, right? Maybe they're not necessarily trying to build maybe they're not necessarily trying to be a content creator or be an influencer or trying to build a profile or anything. Maybe they're just on here to have fun and connect with their friends, so they don't necessarily need to have an open profile, right? So that's a really, really useful feature there. The second feature that they implemented for younger users is you won't be able to target them via advertising. Now, obviously, it's going to take a little blow to your advertising budget, because maybe that's what your brand does. It has a younger user base. But maybe what kind of brand has like under 18s that's advertising on Instagram? I don't really know. Maybe McDonald's. But yeah, so you won't be able to target them, obviously, because their minds are more susceptible and they're young. And for the most part, these people won't really have jobs, right? They'll be in school, they'll be in uni, and if they do have a job, it might be an apprenticeship or some kind of work experience, right? So they don't really have the money to be targeting for ads, right? If you get what I mean. So yeah, they're pulling that back, and as soon as the person becomes 18, they will be told that, hey, look, you now will be able to be targeted for ads. And bear in mind, Instagram is still working on a kids app, but it's not necessarily for kids. It's for parents to be able to control and see what their kids are seeing via the app, kind of like YouTube Kids, right? It's not necessarily for kids itself, but obviously it asks you like, hey, are you a parent, if you've logged into YouTube Kids, right? So they are still going ahead with that, despite the controversy of people saying, hey, we don't think you should do this. They're still going ahead with that. The head of Instagram recently went on The Breakfast Club to do an interview. It was about an hour long, and he did touch on that. So here's what he said about that.
You have to be 13 to be on Instagram.
Weren't they talking about doing an Instagram for kids?
We're working on it. The issue there is, we know there are kids who want to be on not only Instagram but other social media platforms, and we know that it's difficult to verify age. If you're 12 or you're 13, you don't have an ID. There's no real way for us to verify age and not get it wrong some of the time. So in that world, and we think that the most responsible thing to do is to give kids access to Instagram in a way that gives parents both transparency and some oversight, some control. That's just going to be a healthier, safer place. It has to be. We also knew that as soon as people found out that we were working on that, we were going to get a lot of heat for it. But it's the right thing to do, so we got to do it. So we're working on it. There's a lot of regulation to comply with. There's a lot of safety concerns to work through. It leaked before we were ready to talk about it, so we don't have a lot of the answers yet. But it's definitely something that we're working on, because it's something I personally believe will be a much healthier, safer place to be.
Let me know what you think about the features for the young users on the platform down in the comments.